Hi, Samuel.
Hi.
Hi. You prior to what you're doing now, you played in several bands.
Yes.
What did you, for example, pick up in those bands?
So I was always the guitarist. So I think when I was like from the ages of like 13, 17, I think like I was pretty socially awkward as like a kid, and I think that like guitar became this mechanism for like it became like a conversation point of me being like, hey, I can play guitar, and like sort of try and make friends that way. So I was obsessed with the guitar, and I was kind of the kid at school who was like, oh, what's this? I'm gonna play Eric Clapton's Clips of Dover or something, and I'd be just trying to impress people with that. So, but all the bands I played in were just me and my friends, and like none of my friends are really that into music, so I'd be like, let's write songs and like do loads of stuff, and they'd be like, nah, let's play FIFA or something. So.
When did your interest in the guitar start?
So my family's not really musical. Like growing up in the house, no one was playing instruments and stuff. So the first instrument that I started playing was actually the flute, because I was at primary school and I saw someone playing and I was like, wow, that's amazing. So, but then when I hit like 11 years old, maybe, I was listening to like Blink-182, Green Day, and like all of a sudden, like you hit puberty and like playing the flute isn't cool, and you're like, oh no. So then like I stopped playing the flute, but I kind of wish I carried on playing the flute though, because if I could play flute now, like it'd be insane. Like imagine if I was on stage, I could just like rip jazz flute. That'd be crazy. But no, I kind of like most teenagers was just like playing Green Day songs and stuff.
Oh, so you actually started playing?
Yeah, so I started taking lessons on guitar maybe when I was like 11. I did like grades and stuff, but most other instruments I'm kind of like piano and self-taught and stuff. But guitar, I would take lessons every week and stuff.
And you said, well, you were socially, it helped you, the guitar?
Yeah.
What did it do?
I just like, it was, it just gave me something to like show off about, I don't know, or to like, at school, like you used to have this, this day where everyone would like showcase their hobbies, and I don't know, I felt like it was something I was good at, and then it was like, if you could like impress people, then like you might be able to make friends or something. But I think in my head I thought I was gonna like help me impress girls as well, but it didn't at all.
The guitar. What fascinated you about the guitar above flute and stuff like that?
I think it was just the influence of the bands I was listening to at the time. It was guitar music was so massive when I was, between the age of like 11 and 15. Like I think that guitar music and guitar bands have sort of faded a bit in the last like 5 years or so, or 5 to 10 years, but there seems to be a kind of resurgence of like indie bands and guitars present in music, or just like a kind of merging of genres at the moment. Like you see more bands like Tame Impala fusing like psych rock and with more like dance music elements and stuff. So it's definitely, I feel like it's coming back around a little bit.
Is there one song from a band that you were really into that you could play really good?
Yeah, I'd say probably Eric Johnson, Clips of Dover. I think I said Clapton before, but yeah, it was on Guitar Hero. Has a really famous guitar solo in the start. It goes crazy, and there's loads of like tapping and stuff. And I remember like setting that was like my goal, to learn like the intro to Clips of Dover, so that I could be like, hey, what's this? But yeah, it's a great record.
Did you succeed to play that?
Yeah, I did. I remember I uploaded a cover onto YouTube and stuff. Like I was like, back when YouTube was like just starting out, like, and I think it got like 3 hits or something. But
it's still online.
No. I buried that long ago. I've done a lot of housekeeping on YouTube.
That's good. What was the tipping point then from guitar to what you're doing now?
So when I was like 16, I think dubstep was having a moment in London, and I was too young to be in clubs or anything. But that kind of triggered this interest in electronic music production. So I started to take music technology at school, and that's when I started to dig into the software. So I wasn't listening to dubstep as a fan of like club music, because I was too young to be in clubs, so I didn't really understand what it was for. But I was listening because I was fascinated by like the sounds they were making. And I would go onto YouTube and like watch these tutorials on how to like make a wobble bass or so. That was kind of the gateway then to electronic music as a wider thing.
Is there one song, one track that you heard that you said, well, that triggered for me, that really opened my
It
eyes?
was like, what were those tracks called? It was like, oh man, what was that Chase and Status track? It's a dubstep one. What's it called? Eastern Jam. Yeah, Chase and Status, Eastern Jam. It was like that kind of stuff that like really, it's like 140 BPM and it's like kind of dark and moody and like I think it's Koki and stuff like that. Benga, some artists like that. I can't even remember half the track names. But.
And what did you bring from your guitar playing days into?
Well, for a couple of years, I really abandoned the guitar playing, and regretfully so. Like, I definitely lost some ability in those years. But there was a couple of years where I was just like focused on, and it was only really in the last kind of 3 years that I then came back to the guitar. And I'd say I'm actually a worse guitar player than I was. You know, when I was practicing every day and I was learning my scales and stuff. And now I'm a very average guitar player. But I now use the guitar as a tool rather than like I was a real guitar player before, but now it's just like another layer in production. And if I can play the guitar well enough to execute an idea that I have in my head, then that's fine, you know.
What did, in hindsight, what you're doing now and making tracks, what did playing the guitar and well, figuring out how the guitar bands build up their songs, what did you learn from that and what did you bring to your own?
I think it definitely created a focus on songs. Like rather than, you know, club music was something I found later, and you know, the approach to making club music is very different to how guitar bands might make songs. But I think it kind of programmed my brain to always concentrate on a song rather than like creating something for the purpose of a club or for like a show or something, because that was it. I wasn't at concerts, so I wasn't in clubs. I was just listening to guitar bands like on the bus or whatever. So I think that's kind of stuck with me, definitely.
Just a quick thought. How do you look back on the Shivers EP?
Yeah, it's. I feel, you know, I'm still super proud of it, but it's kind of crazy to listen back to that and be like, oh, I would do this differently now, but you know, that's part of releasing music, is that, you know, it's a moment in time, and like once it's out, you can't go back and change it.
What do you hear? What sort of moment in time was it for you?
I don't. I think there's some emotions behind some of it, and like some influences that I just remember feeling at the time, and you know.
For example?
Just I guess Warm was made after my first like real breakup. I just remember being in my feelings a lot and just being like a bit of an emo kid about it, and just like, you know, and just channeling that in the music a bit. But I think like what's interesting about the Shivers EP is that it's not very complex sonically. I think it's very almost like minimalist. It's like drums, piano, bass, and I think that my music's become more maximalist now. But that's also just being more adept in the studio and more capable of executing ideas.
And the quick thought on the Yours EP?
Yeah, I'm super proud of the Yours EP. The Yours EP was like a growth, definitely, and I think that there's things that I tried on there that like maybe I wouldn't do now, and there's,
for example,
I wouldn't want to ruin it for anyone. So, but honestly, I feel like I'm working on a full-length album now, and I feel like each of the EPs and even the Dusk Dawn project, which is kind of an album but 3 parts, but it's kind of 3 EPs at the same time. It's all been a process of like discovery and growth, but like I don't know if that ever stops. You know, you're constantly evolving as a musician, and your influences are constantly changing. Because right now, I feel like the music that I'm making is everything before it has been training for this now. But I might feel that way about an album in 5 years' time. You know, so who knows?
Yeah, but what were your thoughts behind this Dark Dawn project? What triggered it?
So I went to start making an album like, I don't know, like 2-3 years ago, and I just couldn't do it because I didn't have like a purpose. There was no like central. It was just like, cool, it's time to make an album, and I was like, what's the album about? You know, like there was nothing going on in my life that I felt like I needed to tell. There was no, so I just kept failing because there was no central vision to it. And I think that Dusk Dawn was the first time that an idea came into my head that I was just like, I want to communicate this and try this. So I just wanted to create, you know, I became fascinated with the different kinds of music that people digest at different parts of the night. So like, if you go out with friends and you're pre-drinking before you go out, like what kind of music are they listening to? What kind of mood is it? How does that set the tone for the night? What music's being listened to at the peak of the night, at the dark as such, and then, the music that people use at the end of the night to help them sleep or to kind of, so that was really the motivation behind.
What did you learn when you actually when you did
well,
your research?
So that was kind of, I learned the start of the night, just around my friends, and there was a lot of disco music, West Coast hip hop. It's more a feeling that rather than genres, it's like each part of the album has like several genres within it, but it's more that there's a constant mood running through each, and like it's like an energy, because people's energy is different at those different times of the night. Dusk, all those genres like disco and West Coast hip hop and stuff have like an element of like excitement, and kind of like there's a anticipation to like what's coming forward. I feel in the music, and there's like a certain mood to it. So yeah, I guess that was kind of fun to find those common threads between those genres.
And what is your general idea then for your new album now?
So it's a lot of I don't want to give too much away, but like I collect a lot of old disco records. I have like a lot of vinyl, and I've just been really heavily researching that era and like the kind of the openness, the hedonism, the like what made that era so special for disco music. And so I wouldn't call it a disco album, but because like that would feel pastiche, kind of being like, oh, I'm just going to do disco. But I think I'm channeling a lot of that and trying to reimagine that for 2020,
So 2020 album will be out.
But I think I have over half of it already, so it's good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Cheers.